At first glance, the world of Gattaca looks like a dream humanity has chased for centuries. Disease is predicted before it appears. Physical weakness is corrected before birth. And chance seems to have been finally defeated by science. Children no longer arrive carrying uncertainty. They arrive with charts, percentages, and promises. In this future, imperfection is not a tragedy, but a mistake that can be edited out. The idea is seductively simple. If we can design better bodies, longer lives, and cleaner genetic profiles, then suffering itself can be reduced to a technical problem. Gattaca presents this vision calmly, almost politely, which is precisely what makes it disturbing. The horror here is not loud or explosive. It is quiet, clinical, and wrapped in the language of progress. What makes this future so unsettling is not the technology itself, but the confidence with which it is trusted. In Gattaca, genetic data is treated as absolute truth. A drop of blood carries more authority than a lifetime of effort. A strand of hair speaks louder than personal choice. Science, once a tool for understanding, becomes a final judge. The film never claims that genes are evil. Instead, it exposes the danger of believing that genes are complete. When probability is mistaken for destiny, prediction quietly replaces freedom. People stop asking who someone might become and settle for who the numbers say they are allowed to be. This is where the idea of perfection begins to rot from the inside. A society that claims to eliminate unfairness ends up institutionalizing it in a colder, more efficient form. Discrimination no longer looks like hatred or cruelty. It looks like procedure. No one needs to insult you or deny you openly. A machine does it for them. Politely, without emotion. The system insists it is neutral, yet it quietly locks doors before some people even reach them. In Gattaca, perfection does not create equality. It creates a hierarchy so smooth and rational that almost no one thinks to question it. The brilliance of the film lies in how ordinary this world feels. There are no riots, no visible collapse, no dramatic tyranny. People go to work, fall in love, drink coffee, and follow routines. The system does not need violence to survive, because it has convinced everyone that the outcome is fair. That is the true warning of Gattaca. The most dangerous futures are not the ones that openly oppress, but the ones that persuade us. Oppression is simply logic. When society agrees that your worth can be measured before you take your first breath, injustice no longer feels like injustice. It feels like common sense. By presenting a future that is clean, efficient, and undeniably appealing, Gattaca forces the audience to confront an uncomfortable question. If perfection promises safety, stability, and progress, how much humanity are we willing to trade for it? The film does not offer easy answers. Instead, it leaves us with a lingering unease, the sense that a world without randomness may also be a world without hope. Because when everything is decided in advance, the future may be perfect on paper, yet terrifyingly empty of possibility. In Gattaca, inequality no longer hides behind money, education, or family background. It is embedded directly into the body. The phrase, winning or losing at the starting line, stops being a metaphor and becomes a governing principle. From the moment a child is born, society believes it already knows how far that child will go. Opportunity is no longer something to be earned or challenged. It is allocated in advance, quietly and efficiently, by genetic assessment. The unsettling power of this system lies in how natural it feels. No one needs to shout orders or enforce segregation by force. The hierarchy simply operates smoothly, as if this is the only reasonable way things could work. The world of Gattaca insists that it does not discriminate. Officially, genetic selection in hiring is forbidden. In reality, every interview ends with a test that renders resumes meaningless. Blood replaces conversation. Urine replaces curiosity. A machine delivers a verdict that no human is willing to contradict. This is where the film becomes deeply uncomfortable, because discrimination no longer wears the face of malice. It wears the mask of efficiency. People are not rejected because they are disliked, but because the system claims it already knows their limits. The cruelty of this logic is subtle, but devastating. Once potential is defined at birth, effort becomes irrelevant. What Gattaca exposes is a society that mistakes prediction for fairness. By trusting genetic probability as destiny, the system absolves itself of moral responsibility. If someone fails, it is not because they were denied opportunity, but because they were never meant to succeed. This belief is dangerous, precisely because it feels reasonable. Statistics sound objective. Percentages feel scientific. Yet the film reminds us that probability describes trends, not individuals. When society forgets this distinction, it begins to treat human lives as pre-written scripts rather than unfolding stories. The division between the genetically validated and the invalidated is not only economic or professional, it is psychological. Those labeled inferior internalize the verdict long before they ever confront a locked door. They stop dreaming, not because they lack ambition, but because ambition feels irrational in a world that has already judged them. Meanwhile, those labeled superior grow up carrying expectations rather than purpose. Their success is assumed, not chosen. In such a system, both sides are trapped, just in different ways. One is denied the right to aspire. The other is denied the freedom to fail. What makes this social order especially chilling is how little resistance it faces. The rules are accepted because they promise stability. When everyone knows their place, society runs smoothly. But Gattaca quietly asks what is lost in that smoothness. A world that sorts people before they act removes the possibility of surprise. There is no room for late bloomers, for reinvention, for quiet resilience. The unexpected becomes an error rather than a miracle. By turning the starting line into the finish line, Gattaca challenges the audience to reconsider how easily we accept inequality when it arrives dressed as logic. The film suggests that the true danger is not that some people begin ahead of others, but that we decide the race is already over. When society stops believing in growth, struggle, and transformation, it does not become more advanced. It becomes smaller, colder, and profoundly less human. Vincent Freeman is not born as a rebel. He is not loud, charismatic, or naturally gifted by the standards of his world. In fact, Vincent enters life already condemned. His genetic profile predicts weakness, illness, and an early death. From the moment he takes his first breath, the system decides he is not worth investing in. In the language of Gattaca, Vincent is an error, a reminder of a past society that relied on chance. Yet, what makes Vincent compelling is not that he denies his limitations, but that he refuses to accept the conclusion drawn from them. His story is not about proving science wrong. It is about refusing to let prediction replace possibility. Vincent grows up surrounded by constant reminders of what he is not supposed to become. His younger brother, Anton, genetically designed to be superior, serves as a living comparison that reinforces the system's beliefs. Stronger, faster, healthier, Anton represents the future Vincent is excluded from. And yet, Vincent's quiet defiance takes shape early. He looks upward, toward the stars, toward space, toward something larger than the narrow life assigned to him. In a society obsessed with certainty, Vincent clings to uncertainty as his last form of freedom. What sets Vincent apart is not raw talent, but endurance. He learns quickly that effort alone is meaningless if the system refuses to acknowledge it. No amount of studying or training can overcome a failed genetic screening. So Vincent makes a radical choice. He does not ask the system for mercy. He slips through its cracks. By assuming another identity, he exposes the uncomfortable truth beneath the world of Gattaca. The system only works if everyone agrees to play by its rules. Vincent's deception is not framed as moral superiority, but as survival. When doors are sealed before you arrive, breaking in becomes the only way forward. The film is careful not to romanticize Vincent's journey. His pursuit of his dream demands constant sacrifice. He erases himself daily, scrubbing away skin, hair, and blood to remain invisible. His body suffers. His nerves are stretched thin, and one mistake could end everything. Yet Gattaca uses this suffering to underline a central idea. Dreams are not gentle. They demand persistence, discipline, and pain. Vincent's success is not a miracle. It is the result of relentless preparation in a world that insists preparation should not matter. Perhaps the most powerful aspect of Vincent's character is his relationship with failure. Unlike the genetically elite, Vincent is familiar with disappointment. He has lived with rejection long before he enters Gattaca Aerospace. This familiarity becomes his strength. When everything is at stake, Vincent does not hold anything back. He is willing to exhaust himself completely, because he has never believed he had a guaranteed future to protect. This mindset culminates in the film's most revealing idea. Those who are told they are limited often learn how to give everything they have, while those promised success may never learn how to try. Vincent Freeman does not overthrow the system. He does something more unsettling. He proves it incomplete. By reaching a place he was never meant to occupy, Vincent challenges the audience to question how many potential lives are quietly discarded by the comfort of prediction. His dream is not just personal ambition, it is an argument, made without speeches or slogans, that human potential cannot be fully measured, mapped, or denied. Jerome Eugene Morrow is everything Vincent Freeman is not meant to be. His genetic profile is flawless, his body sculpted to near perfection, his potential celebrated long before he ever earns it. In the world of Gattaca, Jerome represents success without struggle, arrival without journey. He is proof that the system works exactly as intended. And yet, beneath that polished exterior lies one of the film's quietest and most devastating tragedies. Jerome is not broken by failure alone. He is broken by expectation. From birth, Jerome is told who he is supposed to be. Excellence is not a possibility for him. It is an obligation. His identity is shaped not by desire, but by prediction. When he falls short of absolute perfection, finishing second instead of first, the weight of that failure crushes him. In a society where genetic superiority promises inevitability, there is no language for disappointment. Jerome is not taught how to cope with falling. He is only taught that falling should not happen at all. What Gattaca reveals through Jerome is a side of privilege rarely examined. While Vincent is denied opportunity, Jerome is denied meaning. His achievements are never fully his own, because they were always expected. After. 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 There is no joy in proving oneself when the outcome is assumed. Over time, Jerome becomes a man living inside a body he no longer feels connected to. His paralysis is not only physical, it is existential. He is trapped by the very perfection that once defined him. Jerome's relationship with Vincent is built on this contrast. Vincent borrows Jerome's body to chase a dream, while Jerome borrows Vincent's dream to give his life some form of direction. Their partnership exposes the flaw at the heart of genetic determinism. A perfect body does not guarantee purpose, just as an imperfect one does not prevent it. Jerome has everything the system values, yet nothing it cannot measure feels accessible to him. He drinks not out of indulgence, but out of emptiness, numbing a life that feels finished before it truly begins. The tragedy of Jerome is not that he loses his ability to walk. It is that he loses the belief that he can still become something else. In a world obsessed with potential, there is no forgiveness for deviation. Jerome internalizes this harsh logic until he sees himself as a failed version of perfection rather than a complete human being. His final choice is not framed as despair alone, but as an attempt to reclaim control over a life that was never fully his. Through Jerome, Gattaca delivers one of its most unsettling insights. A society that promises perfection leaves no room for weakness, but it also leaves no room for growth. When identity is assigned at birth, becoming is no longer possible. Jerome's fate stands as a quiet warning. Being born complete may be the most limiting condition of all. At the core of Gattaca, beneath its polished surfaces and genetic hierarchies, lies a quieter force that ultimately defies every prediction. The will to live, not survival in the biological sense, but a deeper, more dangerous impulse, the refusal to accept the limits imposed by expectation. Vincent Freeman embodies this will, not as a dramatic declaration, but as a daily choice to keep moving forward when every system around him insists he should stop. His story suggests that what separates those who endure from those who fade is not strength or perfection, but commitment without a safety net. The idea often referred to as Usagi's choice can be understood here not as a literal character, but as a metaphor. Like a creature that survives not by dominance but by persistence, Vincent chooses a path where retreat is impossible. The most revealing moment comes during his childhood contests with Anton in the open sea. Vincent does not win because he is stronger. He wins because he removes the option of return. When asked how he manages it, his answer is devastatingly simple. He never saves anything for the swim back. This is not recklessness. It is clarity. Vincent survives because he commits fully, while others hold something in reserve. In Gattaca, this distinction matters more than genetics. Those born superior grow up protected by margin and expectation. They are taught, implicitly, that there will always be another chance. Vincent grows up knowing there will not be. This knowledge sharpens him. It strips away hesitation. His will to live is inseparable from his willingness to exhaust himself completely in pursuit of meaning. Where the genetically elite calculate risk, Vincent accepts it. Where others rely on probability, he relies on resolve. The film carefully avoids glorifying suffering, yet it makes one thing unmistakably clear. A life cushioned by certainty rarely produces urgency. Vincent's existence is defined by urgency. Every day inside Gattaca Aerospace is borrowed time. Every test could expose him. Every step forward carries the risk of collapse. And yet, this pressure does not break him. It focuses him. His will to live is not driven by fear of death, but by a refusal to live a life already decided by someone else's numbers. This is where Gattaca delivers its most human insight. The will to live cannot be engineered. It cannot be screened for or predicted. It emerges in response to denial, limitation, and longing. Vincent's choice is not about proving he is exceptional. It is about proving that existence itself is not a statistical agreement. By choosing to give everything, without guarantee or protection, he exposes the fragile assumption beneath genetic determinism that human beings will always act within the boundaries set for them. In the end, Gattaca suggests that progress without will is hollow. Technology may map the body, but it cannot map conviction. Vincent's journey stands as a quiet reminder that the most powerful force in any future is not perfection, but the decision to keep going when perfection says you should not. What makes Gattaca endure is not its futuristic technology, but its familiarity. The film does not imagine a distant, alien civilization. It imagines a slightly adjusted version of our own world, one where existing tendencies are simply pushed a little further. This is why Gattaca remains unsettling decades after its release. It does not warn us about a future that might happen. It warns us about a future that is already forming, quietly, piece by piece. The genetic screening in Gattaca feels extreme only until we recognize its modern equivalents. Today, society already sorts people early, often invisibly. Test scores, socioeconomic background, medical history, and access to resources shape opportunity long before merit can speak. The film replaces these mechanisms with DNA, but the logic remains the same. When prediction becomes more important than experience, people are no longer seen as evolving individuals, but as fixed outcomes. Gattaca simply strips this process down to its most honest form. What truly unsettles is how reasonable everything appears. No villain explains an evil plan. No authority figure declares oppression. The system runs on convenience, efficiency, and trust in data. In many ways, this mirrors the modern faith placed in algorithms, metrics, and automated judgment. Decisions once shaped by human intuition are increasingly delegated to systems that promise objectivity. Gattaca asks an uncomfortable question. When we allow numbers to decide our worth, who takes responsibility for what those numbers exclude? The film also anticipates a cultural obsession with optimization. In Gattaca, improvement is no longer about growth, but correction. Flaws are treated as failures to be eliminated, not differences to be understood. This mindset echoes real-world pressures to self-optimize endlessly, whether through productivity, culture, performance tracking, or genetic intervention. The danger lies not in improvement itself, but in the belief that imperfection has no value. Once society agrees on that, empathy becomes inefficient. Perhaps the most chilling aspect of Gattaca is how easily people accept their assigned place. Resistance is rare, not because the system is flawless, but because it feels inevitable. When individuals are taught that their limits are scientific facts, challenging them seems irrational. This resignation is more frightening than open control. A world where people stop imagining alternatives is a world that no longer needs force to maintain order. Gattaca does not argue against science or progress. It warns against surrendering moral judgment to them. Technology can extend life, but it cannot define its meaning. Prediction can inform decisions, but it cannot replace belief in human change. The film's fear is not that science will destroy humanity, but that humanity will slowly redefine itself in ways that leave no room for surprise. In the end, Gattaca feels close because it reflects a truth we already know. The future rarely arrives all at once. It arrives normalized, justified, and efficient. And by the time it feels frightening, it has already become familiar. At its heart, Gattaca leaves us with a simple but unsettling reminder. A human life cannot be reduced to data. Percentages may describe risk, and statistics may suggest patterns, but they can never fully capture intention, desire, or resolve. The world of Gattaca chooses to forget this truth. It treats identity as something measurable, fixed, and final. In doing so, it mistakes information for understanding. The tragedy is not that the numbers exist, but that they are allowed to speak louder than the human experience itself. Vincent's journey does not disprove genetics. It challenges the arrogance of believing genetics are enough. His success is not a denial of science, but a refusal to let science define the boundaries of meaning. Gattaca does not argue that effort guarantees victory, nor does it promise that dreams will always be fulfilled. What it insists upon is far more modest and far more radical: that people deserve the chance to try. Without that chance, potential becomes a closed system, and growth becomes an illusion. The film's quiet power lies in its restraint. It never shouts its message. Instead, it allows the audience to feel the weight of a world where possibility has been replaced by prediction. In such a world, hope is not forbidden, but it is discouraged. Ambition is not punished, but it is deemed unnecessary. Over time, this erosion of belief does more damage than any visible injustice. When society stops seeing people as becoming, it starts seeing them as complete, or defective, worthy, or expendable. Gattaca ultimately asks us to reconsider how we define progress. Is progress the elimination of uncertainty, or the courage to live with it? Is a better future one where every outcome is optimized, or one where individuals are trusted to surprise us? The film suggests that humanity's greatest achievements were never born from certainty, but from defiance of it. From those who ignored predictions, exceeded expectations, and refused to accept the limits assigned to them. In the end, Gattaca does not offer a manifesto. It offers a warning, spoken softly but firmly. When we begin to see ourselves as collections of scores and probabilities, we lose sight of what makes us human. A person is not a report, not a forecast, not a genetic summary. A person is a story still being written, and as long as that story remains unfinished, no table of numbers has the right to declare its ending.